Welcome to another episode of Fantastic Lifestyles, where we talk about motivation, business, and life. Today we have a special guest, Anthony Susco. Great man. Well, actually, the man, the myth, the legend himself. So without further ado, we're going to jump into it. Don't want to ruin anything. And you're going to hear a pretty awesome story. So we're just going to dive deep into it. So Anthony, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and to the guys out there.
All right, thanks for having me. Again, this is Anthony Susco with Ashmore Partners, private real estate lending. We fund fix and flip investors in the area, either buy and holds or the traditional fix and flip sale. We are local to the area. We were actually in Turnersville right now. We live within 20 minutes of here, so we're familiar to the area. And we just love being involved in real estate investing and helping other investors fulfill their dreams of being full-time in the real estate business.
Yep. And I can also speak from personal experience that Anthony is a phenomenal person to work with. So between my partner and myself, we've done, I don't even know how many deals with you now.
Definitely, over 10. I mean, we're approaching, there's a couple portfolio deals. If you went by unit, maybe close to 20. So we met 4 or 5 months ago. So obviously you're moving quite aggressively, which is great. And, we're here to help you continue to grow in that sense. So.
Yeah, and just the same way that they've helped us, they can help you too. Because a lot of times I know you guys out there that when you're thinking about real estate, it could be a little bit challenging, and there's a lot of different things that you're thinking, okay, I don't have the money, I don't have the resource, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, it's not really about the lack of resources, it's really about the lack of resourcefulness. But still, it's always good to have resources like, say, Anthony, where between Drew and myself right now, we just closed another 10 unit. So we're at a total of 46 units, but that's on a span of 1.5 years. And that's after meeting Anthony. We got, done about 20, probably more than 20 units, honestly, in the deals that we've done. So we're going to learn a little bit more about his business, how he can possibly help you guys out, and then just kind of want to dive deep into your origin story.
Great. So, obviously we want to point out, we put some info here, some contact info, ashmorepartners.com, at Ashmore Partners on all the social media sites, and this is our main phone number. If anyone, is interested in getting some information on the loans we provide, and we'd be happy to go through it. One thing we put on our website, if you do go there, right on the front page is compensated approach to lending, and that's what we'd like to strive to do, and that's why we created this business. I know we were chatting briefly before this about our backstory. Mm-hmm. So the other founder, myself, Peter Christensen, we started investing in real estate about 10 years ago now, maybe just under 10 years ago. We had always.
So what made you guys to do first decide to partner up, right? And then second, actually go into real estate versus anything else? So Pete and myself, we went to high school together, then we went to college together, we're roommates. He's got a background in finance, I actually have a background in engineering. So similar, mathematical background to it, but slightly different on the surface, obviously. We thought we could work well together and do a business together. When we graduated college, we sort of went our separate ways, at least geographically. And so for the first 4 or 5 years, it didn't really make sense to partner up. We both sort of in parallel had been becoming interested in investing in real estate. Anything that you kind of look into and read for long-term wealth, it's all tied to real estate. That's how this country was built. That's why the tax laws, it's all real estate, right? Mm-hmm. So we had parallel ideas that we weren't really discussing until I moved back up from Virginia, to New Jersey just before 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And Pete moved as well. And so we hooked back up and said, hey, let's do something together. What are your ideas? What are you looking at? We both happen to be looking at the same thing, which is real estate. And so, we dove into it head first, and we're still doing it. All right. So why don't you tell us a little more about the first deal? Some of the things that you thought was, a lot harder than you originally expected, but then also some of the stuff that was a lot easier than you expect.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, real estate investing has got a lot more popular in the past 10 years, obviously, right? It's on TV, it's very glamorous now. When we started, it was sort of, taboo almost. When we were flipping houses and realtors saw a flipped house, it was kind of like, well, what did they do to cut corners? Or, what did this house used to look like? Or it was sort of like, stay away from that, right? Now, people are seeking flipped houses, right? Mm-hmm. So obviously, there's a big change. But even besides that, just the idea that everything looks so easy on TV, it's plot line, standard, Hollywood style. Everything looks great, then there's an issue, but then they solve it and they all make money and everyone's happy, right? So Pete and I, the first deal we did, similar plot line except for the end, right? So everything looked great on paper. We started the project, overages, certain location issues, township issues, everything you can imagine. Took a lot longer to sell, and we did sell it. Our net profit on that first deal was $200.
$200
which probably worked out about 3 cents an hour for the time that we put into it. So we didn't lose money, which is good. However, it wasn't the $50,000 home run that we thought it would be. So we took a step back, and we learned. You have to learn, right? Yeah. So in that situation, remember it well. It was on a busier road, a double lane road, which we stay away from, or we advise to stay away from. I mean, we tried to factor in about a 10% reduction. It's more like 20-25%. So anyway, those kind of things. There were some soil issues with water retainment. Just certain things that you can do up front. We tell a lot of our clients never waive the inspection periods, right? All these deals are as is. They all say as is. That doesn't mean you can't inspect, right? It means the seller won't do anything or don't have to do anything. But that doesn't mean you just buy it. The first one we were, hey, we know what we're doing. It looks so easy on TV. As is, great. Let's just buy it. We'll figure it out. And we did figure it out. It cost a lot of money. So that was our first deal.
Okay, that's cool. So what other lessons would you share with the audience out there? Let me be a little more specific. So a lot of times, like for example, I can't believe I'm having Steve Jobs, stated that a lot of times in life, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. So I'm guessing at that time when you earned that $200, you had a certain feeling. But then can you describe more of how you were feeling at that moment? And also now that you look back upon it, what would have happened if you never did that first deal?
Well, so there's a few things that we learned, beyond the specifics of that deal, right? Obviously, the double lane road, for example, is a good thing to take forward. However, that's not going to help you on every deal. The main thing that came out of that was to build a team. So a lot of the real estate investment seminars and books and things and podcasts talk about that, and it's true, and that's why they all talk about it, right? There's a team to every real estate deal. There's the investors, there's the lender, there's the real estate agent, there's the contractors, everything, and you have to have a good team that you trust. That you may not be the cheapest set, right? But the best quality and someone that will get stuff done. Just like anything, as you grow, as we grew this business, and we hire people that. You get to a certain point, everyone has that goal to where you can't do everything. So you have to have people in place that you trust, right? Okay. So we really focused on that, and that's where one of the pillars for building Ashmore was we wanted to be one of those trusted team members. Where we're not a call center. My partner has a finance background, but we've done the business. We're not just a bank, right? So we analyze deals. We know what to look for. We want to help. We enjoy flipping houses. Now we're on the lender side of things, but in our mind, the 150 loans we have right now outstanding, plus or our loans or our projects, so we look at it that way.
Okay. So one thing I do want to mention, like if you're talking about like team members, Anthony and Ashmore has been phenomenal. I mean, we've closed deals. I mean, I'm not putting any pressure, but we've closed deals in about 6 to 7 business days. But on average, we've done deals where we can go from actually signing contract to actually settlement tables in 10 business days, which is huge, because there's certain buyers out there that wants the execution, which what I would state is just be careful and make sure you do your due diligence, but at the same time to be able to do a deal in 10 days, literally having all the amount requested to all the amount, is right on the table and you own it in 10 days. That's huge. And speed is, insane. So again, thank you for that, man.
Sure, and that's a good point. I mean, 10 days is what we use. So we have a 10-day schedule here. We have our underwriting processing team come from, a few of them come from the retail space, where that's a 30 to 45 day schedule. So we've had to really cram the thinking. But basically we start at 10 days and work it backwards with the idea to be clear to close in 7 days. As you mentioned, I think we did 1 or 2 deals in 6 or 7 days, which, we prefer not to, but we will if we need to. Certain circumstances, you're a valued client, if we become familiar with you, we've had all your docs in place, so adding a property is pretty easy. For a new a new bar, like anyone out there who hasn't dealt with us before, I mean, 10 days is pretty standard, which any seller out there is going to accept a 10-day close. I mean, that's not gonna push anyone away. I mean, as you know.
I mean, I can say a lot of people are just surprised that 10 days is enough time, because then a lot of people will say, okay, there's your title, your agents, and then so on and so forth, and then them not working, which I gotta say, like, you work very well with our agents, whether it's the real estate agent, which I'll do myself, or the national integrity, or any of the other agents that's part of it.
Right.
So I'm curious, how did you go from real estate now to lending? Right.
So back to 10 years ago, right? So we started flipping. Actually, before we did our first flip, was where we made $200. We did the wholesaling. So those of you out there might be familiar with that, where you would basically get a property under contract, and you sell the contract to someone else, right? So that actually is going to do the investing. So that's one of the true ways to get in without much money or credit. You still need some money, to do some marketing things. But anyway, so we did some of that. We did a flip. Then we figured we could learn from it and make it a full-time thing. So we got to the point where over a 3-year period, we did about 40 projects, right? So most of them were flips, about 15 rentals. We tried to balance, quick cash versus long-term wealth with rentals. And we started raising money because, frankly, we were using a hard money lender that we didn't really like. We didn't like all of it. I mean, they were helpful to us, but some of the things we didn't like. So we tried to raise our own money. We raised a lot of money, and people were happy getting returns and such, and so we started investing in other people that we met, other real estate investors. So profit shares and things, and that sort of morphed into we could just lend the money, right? Because you're doing 6 deals yourself, you're investing in 10, and it's hard to be everywhere at one time. And so about 3 years ago, we said, okay, well, let's take this model, shift it a little bit, pivot more, and try just straight lending, which is what Ashmore Partners is.
Okay.
And we had the simple idea that we could be the consultative hard money lender, bring our experience to the table, not just the call center and numbers, people. And I mentioned to you, we thought if we could do 10 million in the first 3 years, we feel like, okay, we have a little bit of a presence, we're helping people. Just the other day, we're a little over 3 years in, we passed 65 million. So it's taken off, it's been great, and people like yourself have helped us along the way to get to where we're at. So.
But that's awesome, 65 million. I mean, do you think you would hit that anywhere close to that number? Honestly, like, was 10 million originally like a stretch goal, or was that like a realistic goal?
We thought that was a realistic goal. So we sort of had, if we could do 10 million, we thought we could do it a little bit faster than 3 years. So maybe at the end of the third year, we're actually landing. We have 10 million on the street. So maybe not cumulative, but we thought it would be a little slower process. Maybe 2 million year one, 3 million year two, something like that. And so now we're doing about $8 million a month, actually, over the past four or 5 months. So
nice.
It's great. It's a great time out there for anyone investing right now. And we're just trying. We have very aggressive programming, as you know. We close quickly. We try to help with cash flow. The biggest thing when you're trying to do many projects is cash flow, right? So we try to, we get first rehab draws and things like that to keep you going and doing more projects and getting to your dream faster, right? That's the idea.
So what would you say is some of the challenges you had, and what was, because usually from my experience, talking to multiple people, is that there's like a certain tipping point almost. Like you don't think it's a tipping point at that point, but like you look back on it, it's like, it's a tipping point where, okay, all right, not only is it achievable, but then you have exponential growth.
Right. So for us, it was tough. It's a tough line to decide when you're going to go from the mom and pop garage shop to an office and employees and people that depend on you, right? So we try to be very careful on overhead. So back to the team thing, having a team is great, but independent contractor team, right? Realtors and things like that. We see a lot of people that start off and say, hey, I'm new to investing. I got an office and I got 5 employees and this and that. And we're kind of like, okay, pump the brakes a little bit, right? You have to pay them. So Peter and myself, we worked from home for a while. We had no overhead and we just worked. We did everything. We probably waited a little too long to expand, but we wanted to make sure we had everything in place that we could support a good team and really get it going. And so it's funny because we look back now, we hire one person, we hire 2 people. Every time we hire someone, we say, how did we do it before that, right? How was it possible? Well, you guys, my wife, it's because we would just work all the time, right? So, but yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of you guys got to feel the timing for, you know, when are you ready to take that next step, and you'll feel it, and maybe you delay it a little bit more, and then, you know, once you go for it, you know, at some point you just got to push your cards in and go for it, and we did, and you know, here we are.
So do you have any entrepreneurs you study, or do you have any mentors that help you along the way, or is this something more of like just your own drive and you and your partner just pushing each other?
So we've read, I mean, I recommend, you know, read and listen to a lot, right? So there's a lot. Every night there's a real estate meetup. There's something, you know, every night around here, or anywhere for that matter. So, you know, go to as many as you can. Some are better than others, but there's always people there that have done something. A lot of people are out, you know, for themselves, but even if they are, and they're at least upfront about it, you'll learn something, right? So, you know, we've read a lot of books from, you know, the Than Merrills of the world, all the way up to, you know, Elon Musk, who's, you know, just that mindset. So, you know, you try to take it all in and take pieces from each one. I wouldn't say there was one mentor. One of the original private lenders that invested in us still does it to this day. He had done it for a long time. You know, it was personal money, and so we took a lot from him as well. Just, you know, along the way, you'll quickly learn who knows what they're doing and who doesn't, right? And those who do, you know, just ask them. They'll be happy. People ask me all the time, you know, what did you mess up? What did you learn? I mean, people are happy to tell you that, right? So, you know, just ask as many questions as you can.
That's cool. That's awesome, man. Can you tell us of a funny story?
A funny story?
Business related. So somebody messing up, you guys messing up, or?
Well, it's funny, when we first were looking at houses, we tell the story sometime. I mean, you're going through, and we were doing wholesaling, right? So back to that story, or back to that time of our life. We didn't really know much about real estate. We were reading books at the time, and it was like, this is a cheap way to do it. Throw $500 out there, get a list of properties that are available for one reason or another. I think it was absentee owners, right?
Okay.
So we get a house under contract. We're walking through it. We're showing other actual investors, see if they want to buy this house. We're pretending like we know what we're doing. We didn't really know what we're doing. So we're walking around. It's a hoarder's nightmare, right? Stuff everywhere. We open the one door and just close it quickly. It's full of stuff, and someone says, "Is that the bathroom?" "Oh no, that's not. That's a closet." And they're like, "Well, I think there was a toilet in there." So open up. No, sure enough, it was a bathroom that was just piled, you know, with stuff. So it's kind of like someone's like, "Have you been here before?" You know. So, you know, it's funny now. At the time, it was a little nervous. You know, the moral of that story is make sure you know what you're talking about, right? So that was one of our quick early lessons of, you know, we better do a little more research before we decide to pretend like we know what we're doing, or at least try to help people and sell things. Like, you can't just go in, and there's a lot of people that try to wholesale and say this and that about a property, and you know, throw out values. You know, people will see through that quickly, right?
Okay.
So that's, you know, a bathroom's a bathroom, right? If there's a toilet, there's a toilet. Okay, so, you know, do your due diligence, learn the market, learn the values, and actually present right information, right? It's a funny story now, but at the time we were like, oh yeah, okay, great. So those people obviously didn't buy the house from us, right?
Yeah.
So,
but I think with that though is that at least you guys took action towards the right step, you know, because a lot of times I've seen people that are, say, analysis paralysis, and they'll create a lot of different excuses and they just won't do it. But it seems like and you know, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like you guys make a commitment, whether you know or not, you try to jump into it and kind of learn in the process, right?
Yeah, the paralysis by analysis, we see a lot. I met someone at a meetup 2 months ago. He's been investing in real estate, in quotations, for 3 years, but he hasn't bought a house. So,
he's quote unquote saying he's an investor.
Well, that's his plan. He's looked at many houses, and he's done many spreadsheets, and he sent me a sheet, and none of them fit the model. So you know, at some point, I mean, I would think after a year, let alone 3 years, it's kind of like, okay, you're not going to do anything, right? So you got to be careful. It's a fine line. You don't want to just jump into anything, right? Because especially now, the market is tight. People are, it's so hot that people are overbidding for some things, and I'm sure you're seeing it. Yeah. So you don't want to take that leap. But again, if it doesn't quite hit your number, you know, at some point you have to decide whether or not you're willing to take that leap. You know? So.
And I think one thing can also say that it's never going to be a perfect scenario, I would say, and a lot of it is kind of figuring out, being committed to it, and just, you know, putting your drive in.
Right. Well, that's what I was saying. Where do multiple books, multiple seminars. You know, if you go out there, you know, there's the bigger pockets of the world, right? They'll give you formulas on how to analyze a deal. Yeah. It's green or red, right? Well, unfortunately, right now, at least around here, and a lot of them are going to be red because they're just not quite exact numbers. So talk to people around here and say, you know, hey, tech, if this is, you know, 67% analysis when it tells me it should be 65, what do you think? And I was like, well, okay, what are the other factors, right? You know, what type of area is it? Do you think it will sell quickly? Is there room for growth? You know, all that stuff, right? Not just a spreadsheet from one site. Yeah. You know, that's the key.
So what other advice would you have people that are going in a situation like you said, you know, that they're seeing a lot more red? And then also, what's your favorite book?
So you have to, all right, so for the first part of the question, if you're seeing a lot of, you know, red deals, if you will, you know, you're going to have to look at where you're sourcing them, right? So, I mean, you're a realtor. If you're coming from a realtor, a lot of times that's not the best spot to find the deal, right? Because if it makes its way to MLS, right, X amount of people have already seen it and said no. Right? That's just the way it goes. Yeah. So I mentioned, you know, with the wholesaling, wholesalers have a great purpose in this whole business. That's why they exist, because they do the grassroots campaigns of knocking on doors and sending letters and going to the courthouses and all this stuff to find those properties that don't make it to MLS. And you know, they get compensated for it, but a lot of times it's worth it, right? So you want to do that and just find those deals that are not broadcast to everyone. That's what I would say. And as far as favorite book, I mean, it's almost a little bit of a cop out in this industry, but one of the early books I read, which is probably what everyone reads, is Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? Yeah. So I still kind of reread it sometimes just to, you know, get the mind right. It's just such a good. There's a reason why he's so famous, and you know, it's just a really good book on just the foundation of the philosophy. I mean, it doesn't get into too many specifics. It's like give you spreadsheets and things, although you can go to his seminars and get them. But you know, it's just a good philosophy to have. You know, I was just thinking about something the other day. It just came up again. I mean, you know, there's a chapter in there. He talked about getting a new car, right? So if I make more money, you know, people in wherever he was working at the time would buy a new car, right? Well, in his mind, if he can get 3 or 4 rentals and get that rental income to pay for the car, then he'll get a car, right? That's the mindset, you know. Yeah. You want to put a pool in your house, you want to do whatever. Okay, well, where are you going to get that other income to support that? Not just because you made $20,000 here, right? You can spend it here. So it's always good to revisit. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, but since it is somewhat of a cop out, although it's not. I mean, it's true because, you know, most of us have read that. Right. What would you say? Actually, say top 3 books. So we already got 1. So what's the next 2?
So now you're gonna throw top 3 books on?
Yeah, I'm gonna change it a little up.
See, that's tricky. I don't know if I could even add 3 more. So I like Elon Musk's book. We read that a few times, and E-Myth, we like that book too.
Okay, E-Myth is good.
I recommend those. I mean, you know, obviously Elon Musk is just, you know, he's all over the news now for sometimes not great things, but you know, he's a brilliant person and just building his business. There's a lot of good things in there. And E-Myth is great as far as, you know, when you're starting small and, you know, always got to think big, right? And we try to do that from here so that when you are ready to hire people and move in the office, you have everything defined to do so.
Have you ever read or listened to The Third Door?
No, I haven't.
Highly recommend it. It's pretty good. And who are your favorite entrepreneurs or motivational speakers?
Well, you know, we went through a few there. Yeah. So I don't really go to too many of the, you know, events. We listen to some like military type, you know, motivational speakers, just as far as like getting you, you know, your mindset going. But in this specific business, I mean, I do like the ones we already mentioned. You know, I think I mentioned in the beginning. You know, we read some stuff from Dan Merrill. He's not really a motivational speaker, but he was on the original Flip This House stuff, right? And he does. Anyone that has a radio hears that he's here once a month or once a quarter or whatever, right? At his free seminar. It's always good to go to those. They don't want to teach you too much, but they kind of get you fired up, you know. So those kind of guys.
Pretty interesting. Yeah. Because have you ever been to one of the Rich Dad Poor Dad ones?
No, I have not actually, and you know, I get those reminders every now and then, but it just hasn't quite.
They're pretty interesting.
Okay.
Tax liens is one of the strategies I learned from there, which has done very phenomenal for me this year, which we'll talk offline a little bit more about that. But definitely appreciate your time and, you know, all your information. I would say the next few minutes, tell the audience where they can look you up. I know we have some information there. and then also, share anything else you want. The camera is completely yours.
All right, great. So again, ashmorepartners.com. We're Ashmore Partners Private Real Estate Lending. We are based in South Jersey. We're in Turnersville. We will fund pretty much anywhere on the East Coast, although we prefer New Jersey and Eastern Pennsylvania. We just like to lend where we know, where we flipped houses, where we know the market, where we can actually provide that consultative approach. But we do have regular clients that say, I want to do this place in Chicago or Atlanta or Florida, and we'll accommodate that. If you look on our website, we're very transparent with our rates and our fees. They're right up there. When we met each other, we told you day one, here they are. We don't like to hide anything. There's no bait and switch. We are very aggressive with pricing based on experience. So as you build up, as you've seen firsthand, you can get much cheaper rates and much higher leverage to help you do more, right? That's what we like to do. And again, we're available all the time. If I ever get the pleasure to send anyone an email, my cell phone's in there. You can call me anytime, and I try to get back to you if I don't answer right away. We just love what we do, and we're happy to help anyone looking to grow the real estate business.
And I just also want to comment when he says he's very transparent about the rate. It's very true. I mean, I went through several, different companies and people that try to do the whole bait and switch thing. Which actually, the last thing I want to ask is, how are you different from your competitors?
Well, there's one. So we point out very specific on our site about junk fees. We get told all the time, or not all the time, but we've gotten told many times that our points are high, or our rate's a little high, or someone has lower, and this guy has lower, and everyone has lower, right? And then they say, okay, send me a HUD. Let me see the breakdown. And so, the underwriting fee and the application fee and the processing fee, all those fees, they don't exist with us. So when we say, 12% and 2 points, or 11% and 2 points, or whatever it may be, that's what you get, right? So that's very key, because when you're modeling those spreadsheets we talked about, and you're plugging those things in to see if it's green or red, those things count, and they add up. And if you don't have a $1,000 underwriting fee and a $500 thing, now all of a sudden you're in the red, right? So that's key. And then what we really pushed for that we rolled out last year is the initial rehab draws, fronting the draws, right? So we want you to keep the project moving. It's better for you, it's better for us. So we help you get started by giving you money at closing to get started. And we keep, as you do the work, keep fronting your next draw so that you can keep paying your contractor and keep getting work going. So as we said, cash flow is key when flipping houses, especially if you're doing more than one at a time. And so that's where we feel like we stand out among the rest.
Yeah. And also, I think one thing that wasn't really mentioned that much is the service they provide. I mean, never ever have an issue. Very transparent, very consultative, and for those that are not too familiar with hard money, it's a great way to be able to leverage debt to create a financial freedom for you. And especially with what Ashmore Partners is doing is that they also finance 100% of the construction costs. So for example, if you have, say, a $100,000 loan that needs, say, $30,000 work, up front there's just that certain amount, but that's it. It's based on percentage of the, that amount. But you're able to have your construction costs financed into the bill. And if you're making money at the end, it doesn't matter if it's cost a little more, especially if you have the service, the convenience, and really the professionalism there to help you out. So guys, definitely check out ashmorepartners.com or at Ashmore Partners over on Facebook and Twitter, or just give them a call. But hope you guys learned something. Definitely appreciate your time, and keep in mind, everything is starting right up here. Hope you have a great day. Thanks.